Diego Maradona died today of a heart attack at just 60 years old. Tonight, the scenes in Buenos Aires, signs reading "Gracias" on the streets where he was raised.
Diego Maradona was undoubtedly one of football's greatest ever players. Join me as we tell you about Diego Maradona, life of a legend, how he got famous and how he spent his earnings. Let's begin. Number 4. Humble background. Maradona's father had been a boatman in the poor province of Corrientes, moving to Buenos Aires to join his wife who was working as a domestic helper, settling and building his own house from sheets of metal and loose bricks, that too in one of Argentina's most violent slums, Villa Fiorito, a slum so notorious for extreme violence that police officers did not have an official beat there. They would not dare risk being rooted in the place in fear for their lives and instead took turns to be bussed in daily to police the area. There was a story recalled by the man himself in which he fell into an open cesspit as a toddler. His uncle's words during that awful scene always stayed with Maradona. "Dieguito, keep your head above the shit." Growing up in such circumstances, with neither electricity nor clean water, Maradona made money any way he could. He opened taxi doors, sold scraps, and other menial jobs. Even when 5 or 6 years old, he would be juggling oranges or crumpled paper on the way to school and back. There was a picture that surfaced showing a young Diego next to a chain-link fence with a huge dent on the side. It just went to show how much practice he had done endlessly kicking a football against it. His work ethic and talent was there for all to see. Number 3. Football breakthrough. He was such a gifted talent that when he first went to the youth side of Argentinos Juniors, the club officials were convinced that he was lying about his age. The precocious 8-year-old was simply just that good. No one could believe what a supreme talent he was. Almost instantaneously, he became a phenomenon. He was already a crowd pleaser at such a young age, doing flicks and tricks for the crowd at halftime of games. At the age of 11, his name started to be mentioned in the nation's papers. Thus began the legend of Maradona. Number 2. Professional career. Maradona went on to sign a professional contract at the age of 15. He was the youngest player to ever become professional in Argentina. Only a few months later, Diego was given his national team debut in a friendly against Hungary. Obviously too young to be included in the World Cup squad, this left Maradona devastated. From that point, he became the main breadwinner for his family. Improving the financial fortunes of his family, in 1981, Maradona signed with Boca Juniors for $4 million. He had the chance to go and play for any team in Argentina at that point, but he turned down significantly higher offers from others to play for his childhood team. This was Maradona in a nutshell, always the dreamer and always true to his core ethos. Only playing 1 year at the club, he was snapped up by Barcelona for a then world record-breaking transfer worth a whopping $7.6 million. Even though it was one brief season, he truly made the most of it by scoring 28 goals in 40 appearances, leading his team to glory by winning the title. He enjoyed further fame and world recognition at Barca, but unfortunately, his stint at Barcelona was marred by fights on and off the pitch, as well as his burgeoning drug addiction. Despite all the trouble, he was the first player ever to get a standing ovation from heated rivals Real Madrid at their stadium. The incident, which proved to be a death knell for his Barca career, was when he kneed an opposition player in the head, causing a massive brawl between the two sets of players. This was done in front of the Spanish royal family, and it forced Barcelona to let him go. This was not the end of his record-breaking career. He was immediately signed by Napoli for another world record transfer fee amounting to $10.6 million. It was at Napoli where Maradona truly found a home away from home. It was a city looked down upon, poor and debilitated, yet with a resilient spirit. This was Maradona through and through, and it allowed him to truly express himself in all his gritty brilliance. A renowned journalist even said that Napoli didn't have schools, buses, houses, or proper sanitation, but none of it mattered now that they had Maradona. The whole city took to him as one of their own, and to this day, the songs and murals of Maradona line every street. The moment he saw a crowd of 75,000 fans welcome him at his unveiling, he knew he would give his all for the club. He had the best period of his club career during this period, winning numerous trophies and individual honors. He broke the established order, and as true underdogs, made Napoli win the Serie A title in 2 amazing consecutive seasons. This was the first time any team from the south of Italy had ever won a title. During this period, there was absolutely no doubt who was the world's greatest player, and Maradona proved it by leading his national side to a World Cup title in Mexico in '86. Even with all the violent fouls and devious methods adopted by his opponents, he was a one-man army. There was absolutely no stopping him, thanks to his ball control, grit, low center of gravity, vision, and passing ability. No team stood a chance against him, going on to score not only the goal of the century, but also one of the most controversial goals of all time. This was all in one game at that. The poor victims of his sheer brilliance on that day were the English. Tensions were already high due to the recent Falklands War between the two nations. Diego not only showed his brilliance, but also his willingness to slyly bend the rules and score the infamous Hand of God goal that is still spoken about to this day. This was Argentina's one and only World Cup title, and it made Maradona into a true icon of the game. This was the epoch of his career. Unfortunately, things took a turn for the worse from here. His drug habit came to the fore, and he was suspended from football for 15 months. This was the beginning of the end for Maradona, and the apex of his career had passed. He had to leave Napoli and join Sevilla for one season. He was not happy there, and his off-field issues kept spiraling out of control. He went back to Argentina and played the rest of his football career there. He retired from international duty with 34 goals from 91 international caps, and a legacy that would never ever be matched. Later in life, he eventually overcame his drug habit and even became the coach of his beloved Argentina in 2008. He held the post for 2 bonkers years until he was sacked after losing to Germany 4-0 in the 2010 World Cup. He went on to have some famous stints in managing club sides, but never held the Argentine top job again. Despite all his ups and downs, the sheer brilliance and resilience of the man always shone through. Truly, the legend of Maradona is eternal. Number 1. Earnings and spending. It is quite difficult to determine exactly how much Maradona was worth at the end of his career, but a rough estimate would be $500,000. This is because, as stated above, Maradona's career was unlike the modern superstar. It was a life filled with parties, drug abuse, womanizing, and buying expensive things. On top of that, he was responsible for his whole family and spent a lot on them all. On top of that, he was also slapped with fines and tax evasion lawsuits, which further dragged him down. An eye-watering $40 million tax debt from his days in Italy also lingered above him. Despite all of this, he did earn millions at the pinnacle of his career. Experts believe that his assets would consist of a slew of properties, luxury vehicles, investments, and jewelry. All of these are scattered across the world in countries such as Argentina, Spain, Italy, Mexico, and UAE. He even spent heavily on an amphibious tank, which is quite frankly absurd. He bought 5 properties in Argentina, several cars including at least 2 luxury ones, and even some smart cars. He bought a Rolls-Royce Ghost worth $175,000 and a BMW. He had a penchant for luxury watches and fancy jewelry. To fuel this habit, he set aside a lot of his career earnings. Sadly, due to his tax evasion lawsuit, he had to give up many of his watches to the Italian authorities. Due to his womanizing habits, Diego had 5 recognized children as well as 3 others. He spent a lot of money taking care of all 8 of these children and their mothers. If only Maradona could have curbed his lifestyle a little, he would probably have been one of the richest men in sports. That's a wrap for Diego Maradona, Life of a Legend. How he got famous and how he spent his earnings. What intrigued you the most about the Argentine legend? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.